Welcome back, everyone, to another episode. Super excited to be back with you all. It's Annalena here, your host. And today I have my co-host here with me. Thank you, Alex. She graciously accepted my invitation to interview me again because this is a topic I have been talking a lot about behind the scenes. And I have been kind of holding back from talking more about this publicly, but I know the time has come. And thank you, Alex, for guiding me with that.
My pleasure. It feels like we've been on this journey together anyways.
Yeah, it's almost 7 years. And especially with human design, you are the person that told me about human design, and I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of back and forth journey. So I'm excited to hear and understand and dive into your viewpoints about how it's all developed over the years today more on this episode.
Yes, I cannot wait. So you can ask me anything.
Ask me anything. Okay. So first of all, I would love to start with when you first heard about human design and then pulled your chart and learned a little bit about what it all meant about you, like how did you feel?
Yeah, it was a very profound moment because I felt very, very seen because I always was following all these other people, right? I put people on a pedestal and, oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. This is right, this is wrong. I'm very easily influenced by those opinions often, and I found myself in a place of like, what's wrong with me? Because I feel like none of these things are really working for me. And human design, the biggest realization really was that, wow, I am unique. I'm different than you are, and you are different than I am, and many other people, and that gave me this deep sense of relaxation in my body. Like, what if nothing is wrong with me? It's just that I'm not like other people. And yeah, this may work for another person, but I'm here to find my way, how I want to run my business, how I want to do marketing. And yes, of course, we learn certain things from people, and that has all its place. But the overall authority is me, that I get to listen to myself. And of course, there were also things like in my tropical human design, I'm a 2-4 manifesting generator. And at the time, it was exactly what I needed to hear, right? You're an introvert and also extrovert, but you really need to nurture the two line. And the manifesting generator gave me permission to experiment because I really had to experiment because I was trying to follow so hard these proven processes that people were talking about. And I thought that it's not okay, it's not professional if I throw too many spaghettis on the wall and see what sticks. But that's exactly what I needed at the time.
Yeah, I feel very similar about my journey of understanding what it meant to be a projector and the 1-3 profile line and all that kind of stuff, self-projected. And I found so many happenings in my life that didn't work or where things worked were suddenly explainable through my chart findings. But then once you started, and I know we both went through the training with Karen Curry Parker. You went a bunch further than me, and you're actually like super highly qualified, and I'm mediumly qualified, just
Oh,
enough to make it work. But it doesn't matter. We went on this journey together. We've both worked with, I would say at this point, probably each hundreds of people on their human design, with their human design, with their charts. And so what have you found over the years that what worked for clients and where have you found some maybe holes in the system, or how could we say this?
yeah, it's a really good question. So when I was spending more and more time with, of course, learning human design and then also working with clients, I had a very strong sense for when we were in the shadow and when we were more in the higher frequency, right? I think that's a gift I have. And I started to notice, especially with the 5 human design types, there was more of a separation happening. And because I was also studying the gene keys so much, I was very much aware of the shadow frequencies. And human design is not here to put a type on a pedestal or make one thing better than the other, because then what we have is hierarchy, right? And hierarchy is a shadow, right? because everything is more about equality. We're the same. We are as valuable as everybody else in this world, right? It doesn't matter what profile line you have, what center you have defined or not, or what channel you have defined or not, or even what your job title is, none of it, nothing, right? We are all equal. And I did start to notice that when people allowed human design simply to reflect something back to them that they already felt was true about themselves deep within, so that they had the courage to fully be that, so they wouldn't keep playing small, they wouldn't keep holding back, then it was doing magic. It was the permission slip people needed. And that's, I think, totally okay because, we all are conditioned. We take on these beliefs that are not serving us. We're being told all these things, not only from growing up, our parents and the people that surround us, but also now from social media. I mean, we're bombarded. So we're completely losing ourselves, right? We're so tuned out of who we really are, right? And then I saw that also many people that were all into human design, but it was very in a disempowered way, where it's like, well, I am this type, and this is why I cannot do X, Y, Z. And I am a projector, I'll give you an example, and I'm not supposed to have babies, or I have to wait for an invitation to run a program. And everything was taken so much to the extreme just because they heard it somewhere, they read a quote, that's what Ra said, or even some human design teachers, oh, that's what my human design teacher said, like, that's what you can or cannot do. And that's when I was like, okay, we have to be very, very careful because you can use this as an excuse and also to feed your ego. Oh, I'm this type. I'm so much better than the other ones, like they are supposed to work for the others, and only these types can initiate things. You have to wait and always wait and wait. So that really started to become very loud in my experience. And I think it was meant to come into my experience because I think I'm here to change that and have a voice about it and talk about it because as I started to talk more about it, like, hey, we need to see this a little bit more flexible. And I started to see it's more like archetypes. And in my case, manifesting generator, that was my experience first. But I already, I was really relating to the projector a lot. And I also could see elements of the manifestor and even the reflector and the generator, of course. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I take from every type what I feel like suits me best. And I started also to realize it doesn't even contradict because these authorities we learn in human design, like when people say, oh, you have a sacral response, it's not just like one way of how you make decisions or one way how this feels. There are other times where life is inviting you into something. It's just like a projector thing. And there are other times where I have to initiate, if I always in the waiting. So, and it was a very freeing experience for me. And I started to attract exactly those people into my business as well that also felt, well, yeah, there is a lot of actually limitation and dogmas going on in the human design space where people actually have these fights sometimes online about, yeah, but you got this wrong and we should do this and I cannot do this. And yeah, I was like, yeah, I have seen it. And that's not what I'm here doing. And I'm talking about it more and more because a lot of people really felt almost like, and I'm going to really say the word, like I saw sometimes this is like a cult. And I saw some spaces with some coaches where I was in a Facebook group and I saw what was going on there. I was like, wow, this is bad. Where there's like somebody on a throne, like a king, has a system that has the answers to everything, and you better trust or believe everything that I'm saying. And everybody was like a helpless chicken running around. I was like, damn. Yeah, for real.
No, no, I'm laughing because I had very similar experiences. I was part of a bunch of projector groups, and I'm no longer because I got kicked out of most of them
Yeah, because you
because they
spoke
were
up,
like,
right?
yeah, and I just had a different experience. And then people would tag like the host of the group and say, look what she said, and is this correct? And it was kind of like a little bit of like a police state. And it's like, have you even been in the how do they call it, in the experiment for 7 years? Because if you haven't, then you have nothing to say
Yeah.
here. And ultimately I really got kicked out of those groups. And so then, you know this, but we founded our own less like dogma-free projector zone, called the Projector Purpose Playground.
Mm.
But even like comments like, "Are you even a projector?" and stuff like that,
Mm.
and we will reveal more secrets in just a few minutes here, but it just felt so offensive to me because even though I did not wait to be invited, but I also, in my astro chart, for example, I have a lot of initiating qualities, right? So, like you say, we all have all of the stuff. It's just like, what are the domineering archetypes, right? That we feel more make us, yeah, yeah, we're all the same. Nobody's better than the other, but we all have distinct flavors, right? So we're all a soup, but somebody's a
Yeah.
tomato soup, somebody's a potato soup, right? But we all have like liquids and potato. No. Anyways, now it's getting confusing. But what are actually some of the some of the myths around human design that you feel really passionate about debunking?
So a really, really big one is that projectors are the guides of the future, and the generators are here to work for the projectors and be the worker bees. And yeah, you could argue because she's a generator and you're the projector, but it's just so disempowering for people. Or that generators can just work all the time, and we live in a generator society. I have worked with so many generators or people that relate to the generator archetype per their birth chart, and most of them are burned out, like that the sacral center, when it's defined, means you have energy all the time, and when it's undefined, you don't, and you cannot work. That doesn't mean what it means at all. Like, we are all here to trust our gut feeling, and there are other energy centers in the human design chart. The sacral center is just only one of the energy centers where there's an on and an off cycle. And it's taken to such an extreme level that I could no longer, like, I'm not going to entertain this anymore because I saw especially projectors so disempowered. I mean, to a way that to an extent that I was like very, very sad, was like, I don't want to use something to disempower people because my intention has always been the opposite. But, then I also realized that it's not human design. It could be religion, it could be the Enneagram, it could be some other kind of archetypes, and for any of this, there's always a shadow frequency and there's always a higher frequency. And we can use anything as a cult or like a tool to feed our ego, right? And also because there is money greed, one of the shadows of the 54th gene key, for example, right? Well, yeah, we can use a tool like human design. Like, look, I have all the answers. You better follow me and just pay me all the money. And you're going to attract people that don't trust themselves. They feel like somebody outside of themselves has the answers, but it could be something else than human design, right? But especially because there is this idea that human design tells you how to make decisions. I mean, that is a game changer because how do I make the right decision? You know? And that was a game changer for me as well. But you also have to understand that not every decision is the same and it depends on the context. Because ultimately, for me, it's not that every decision is this how my authority is described in the book per human design. It's a feeling in the body and it takes practice. And there are times where I make a decision just like that, which I would call splenic authority or sacral response. There are other times where I really have to wait a long time. and also with the emotional solar plexus, it's a complete myth that only people that have a defined solar plexus and hence emotional authority have to wait out their emotional wave to make big decisions. I have an undefined solar plexus in both of my charts, tropical and true sidereal. And I have made the worst decisions when I just like in the moment, because I can actually amplify emotions very strongly. And I have found from my own experience for myself and working with hundreds of people that especially people with an undefined emotional solar plexus have to be more even careful to make big decisions. Big decisions always, when we invest a lot of time, money, energy, and resources into something. So I have more learned that all these centers we have in the chart, and I'm very thankful for Karen Parker's work because she always said you have all of the charts. And I realized that we humans have a tendency, and I think that's our regular human ego. And look, like I was there myself for quite some time, where we see this black or white. Like, oh, I have a defined sacral, you have all the energy. You have an undefined sacral, no energy. And we start to believe it,
Yeah.
right? And no, we all have a sacral center. Like now in the chakra system, you no longer like your sacral got like removed or what? No, that's not what it means. It's just like how you learn about the energy. That's always how I describe it, is a little bit different. But we all have access to this energy, and we are all here to become wise about using this energy for our highest good, to be in our personal power rather than being in our victim or shadow state, right?
Yeah. And I love how you're phrasing this because in Kabbalah, how the sages actually share about it is, and not about human design, but about anything else other than your direct connection with the creator, you're making something else your God. And
Mhm.
that is bound to make you fail. That is bound to make you unhappy because you're never going to get from that thing exactly what you need. It's the same as if
Yeah.
you're trying to use ChatGPT to outsource your business ideas.
Mm.
Yes, ChatGPT has a lot of valuable prompts and let's call them ideas, right?
Mm.
But it's not your original creativity because
Yeah.
that's what you're here to express. You're not here to be faster about it, more efficient about your
Mm.
purpose by outsourcing it to another God, which might AI is trying to take that place. So we have to be very wise about, like you say, how we use all of these things, including religion and human design and astrology, right?
Mm.
But that all being said, and it sounds like a lot of human design has resonated with you over the years. You've studied it so far that you're actually not just for the first time now, but for the second or third time, even you're running a certification
Mm.
and taking people through your way of doing things. So, what kind of t-shirt are you actually wearing?
I'm wearing Aquarius, right?
So, you still resonate with astrology and human design in some way.
Well, yeah, I love it. I love all of it because I feel like I use it in a way to just confirm something that I already know about myself, to keep reminding me of my own power, right? And I don't see these things so much black and white anymore. Again, I can still fall into it. I'm a human. But, and going to this t-shirt, so according to tropical astrology, the newspaper says that I'm an Aquarius. Like that means when I was born, the sun was an Aquarius. That's what I always thought, and I got this shirt many years ago. And I learned as I was following my human design, my inner intuition, my inner knowing, my gut feeling, that there is something called true sidereal astrology. And that it's actually what's really up in the sky in the stars. And I always thought that's what astrology is. And I also know that human design is based on astrology calculations, but I didn't really look much into it. But somehow life led me onto this path. And
When was when was the first time that you realized that there might be another calculation?
I think it was Well, I knew it many, many years ago because Karen Parker even talked about it, but I wasn't even interested like 1%. I was just like, yeah, whatever, you know? But about 2 years ago, my client started to bring it up and ask about questions. And
Did
then,
you have one of those phone apps too, where you held them into the sky?
well, eventually, yes, I did that eventually after I then discovered true sidereal astrology and then learned then your human design chart calculations are also going to be different. And true sidereal astrology is basically what's straight up in the sky, which I always thought it was. But if I would have looked up in the sky and anybody else when I was born, the sun was in Capricorn, not in Aquarius, almost like 30-degree shift in the sky. And that's, I was like realizing, like, wow, we just believe things like that, right? Because that's what astrology says. That's what the newspaper says. That's what the media says. We don't like ask. And the founder of True Studio, Ethan Chimenti, obviously he had this moment himself, I think 12, 13 years ago, a long time ago, where one night there was a full moon. He looked up in the sky, and I think he said it was a full moon in Gemini. That's what they were saying. But when he looked up, he was like, uh, but that's in Taurus. Like, what the heck? You know? And I did the same. Like, when I learned about this, there are apps actually free on your phone. You can download them. They can show you what's happening in the sky. So when they say there's a full moon in Aquarius, look up in the sky. It's most likely in Capricorn. So even like all these things, we're like the transits, and this is the energy we're feeling. It's like we have to bend forward. And for me, it was this realization, well, maybe people are so unsettled and ungrounded and lost in their lives because also I think these celestial bodies really have an influence on us, and especially if we use them to be more in our power, but we use a twisted reality. Wow, I'm like, we get very easily influenced. And then I also realized, I mean, the same with human design, right? Like, we can over identify with a chart and put the chart like a god on a pedestal. We're like, yeah, but my one line is telling me I cannot do this. And because I have this line, I shouldn't do this, like, or people feel actually almost like a victim because they have something in their chart that they perceive or they were being told is a bad thing or a good thing, you know? Just like when we were kids, we're being told certain things, we're very like susceptible to be programmed. And then we are humans now, but when you hear it over and over and over again, something about yourself, you start to believe it. And there are science projects out there where when we are being told something, even when you peek with a needle or something, and it's not your actual hand, but you think it's your hand, and it's just like a fake hand, but you think if you look at it and somebody pokes you with a little like needle, you feel like it hurts. Like I have seen some of those experiments on some YouTube videos, and I was like, yeah, we are so easily like influenced. And when the true sidereal came into my life, I mean, that was the first time ever that anything with astrology really resonated with me. Because yeah, human design had already resonated with me in tropical, but I also think because I took it in a much lighter way, I didn't see it that extreme, and I really had more passion for the 64 gates always from the very beginning. And since today, I mean, until today, this is my main thing. And then the gene keys, and in the gene keys, we no longer have the 5 human design types. Wonder why. I mean, Richard Rudd also was very deep into human design for a really long time. So, and he also makes a joke at the end of the gene keys, like, well, at the end of the day, like you're gonna realize all 64 gene keys apply to all of us. Like you said, yeah, I was a projector, but if you have gate 51 in your chart or gate 53, like, especially if it's in a prominent placement in your chart, like your sun or your earth, like, yeah, you're also gonna realize like that's the energy of a manifester, what they say is human design about, right? And so I see it very fluid. It's this and. The question is, are you in the shadow or are we more on the gift frequency? And it's an awareness tool for me, really nothing else. Like it gives me this awareness of like, oh, here I'm really operating from my fears. And in the gift frequency, I'm more operating from love and self-empowerment, right? I mean, love for others, for ourselves included. And there's nothing anymore where this system and Ra Uruhu, like we're not putting it anywhere higher. Because that's really the definition, I think, with a cult where we put somebody as a god, and that's not what any of this is meant. And it's also said in the Bible, right? With astrology and anything of these systems, we want to be very, very careful how we use it. We never want to use anything to make it a false god, you know?
It's beautiful. And I remember also my favorite spiritual teacher, David Guillaume, saying
Mm.
that astrology is not something that we're meant to cling to so much. It's something that our personal journey is supposed to help us rise above so that we can be in the neutral, positive expression or gift expression of those archetypes, whether that's astrology or human design.
Yeah, exactly. Like use it to empower you. And I have seen this for myself too with my human design chart. And I'm much more resonating with my true sidereal human design chart, but I can still work with a tropical. I don't see one as the condition one and one I that's doesn't land with me well, right? But I use it here and there. I look at it, but it's not this like, oh, I need to look at my chart to get all the answers, you know? Like you say, you kind of transcend it. Like once you trust yourself, you're really grounded in your body and fully present in the now. Like we don't need these tools anymore, if you ask me. We
Yeah.
were obviously given these tools, right? But I think first we have to go through ego death. And I also think that was the purpose of human design. And I'm so thankful for Ra. You know, like he had the courage. He was meant to bring it in a more provocative way into the world. I mean, his conscious sun in tropical is 51, which is a shocking energy and but also awakening energy. And we needed it. It was here to bring up all these shadows. And now also with astrology too, it's amazing actually that we have these two different ways of tropical astrology, which is like the sky, what it looked like over 2000 years ago, but it has shifted, you know, almost over like a whole sign in the sky. And that it gives us this realization of how easily we believe things and we place something outside of ourselves as an authority, as something that has the answers for us. Like, oh, but my astrology chart is saying this. And I have talked to people that are like, yeah, I have bought into the struggle. I have bought into my life has to be hard because that's what my chart says. And you could have them a different chart given, and somebody could have told you, oh, everything is going to be amazing. And that could have been the outcome, you know? So anything that you use, human design, gene keys, Kabbalah, there's so many self-development tools out there these days, probably hundreds or thousands. It's about how are you using it to feed the ego and the limitations and the fears. And look, we humans have that. We're very susceptible. Or are we using it to step into our power and where we're all equal, you know, and we're allowing also to be guided by God. Because for me, actually, I have talked about this already several times that I feel that human design, all these beautiful teachings in there about the center, the nine centers, the gates and the channels and everything, and the gene keys, and then the Kabbalah, which is also part of human design, right? Have really helped me to connect more with God and have more of a relationship with God. Because when I say that's my gut feeling or this is my inner knowing, this is me being open to receive the divine guidance from God, nothing else, you know. And that's a really, really beautiful thing because I struggled growing up with religion a lot, and the whole idea with God, it was a little bit fear-based for me. And I'm so thankful that these wonderful tools help me to really have a relationship more with the creator. That's how we call it in Kabbalah, right? And put God first. and not in a disempowered way at all, right? But there is this divine guidance that's always there for us. It's just about, are we listening? Because that's again, when I say I listen to my heart, that is that universal energy that is always communicating with us. Because we came here for a specific reason. I really believe that. And my purpose seems to be very connected with talking about this and waking us up to how we can also get manipulated by certain systems, certain dogmas, and teachers, and all of that, right?
Totally. May I share a quick story?
Yeah.
Remembering this from one of my business masterminds from a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few projectors together for a mastermind, projectors and tropical. Um, Both of these ladies happened to be German, and one of them became a generator in true sidereal. So that was around the time that I found out about true sidereal, and we did some calculations. And before finding out that she was a generator in true sidereal, she had more of that story of I don't have any energy, all this and all that. And once she found out, she sent a voice message to the group and said, "It's so interesting now that I found out that I'm in true sidereal, that I'm a generator. I have all this energy all of a sudden."
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy how that works, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and more people I think are waking up to that. And again, it doesn't mean that human design is invalid or bad. Like I love it so much. And when I work with clients, because I don't even talk about that you have energy or not energy. That's such a myth, right? It's really about these archetypal energies of the 64 gates for me. It's just about, where am I being in the shadow? Where am I being in the higher? Because it's such a beautiful awareness tool to help us always guide back to our power. And yeah, and with True Sidereal, I have to say too, I have seen so many people shift, and I didn't ask for it. I was really giving my audience like, hey, look, this is my path. I really feel the truth of this True Sidereal because it's just alignment with nature. That's really in a very simple way to say that, right? Like, of course, it's what's up in the sky, and I'm also a very accurate person, lots of Virgo energy. Like, I love math and precision. And like, let's just make it as natural as possible. And the level of alignment that I have experienced with my clients is out of this world. And what I mean by that, it's not that, oh, now the human design chart. It's like once they shifted to the true sidereal, I see them really step into their freaking power. They go out there, they make things happen, they shift their money reality, their relationships, they start their businesses, like they're stepping fully into their purpose. So it's almost like a research project that have been running kind of behind the scenes for a little while. And I'm like amazed. And then I'm like, you don't even need all these like healing modalities because once you get straight with your line, connection to source, like, and then it's about being fully present in the moment. And then we talked about the shift method that gives us the awareness to shift any of our shadows into the higher frequency. And it's just like human design gives you awareness with that. So it's like it's a little bit of a magic sauce I find that I never thought existed, but it only came from a place of really seeing this system very flexible, very, very light, more as a guiding post rather than this prescriptive dogma, you know? It's more to like free yourself who you already know you are, and you finally have the courage to be all of that. But we need to have that reminder again and again, no? So, yeah.
I love it. It's very empowering and feels empowering. And I know, well, you know, my reaction when I first found my true sidereal chart, I
Yeah.
sent you an immediate Voxer back and cried because I was like, this is everything that I've always been experiencing, not just parts of it. And lots of my clients too is like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, oh wow. Mm. You know, it's like deepest, deepest resonance.
Yeah. No, and you, it's, I hope it's okay to say, you found out your reflector, right? Because I know from 4 or 5 years ago, you always told me, like, yeah, I kind of feel like a reflector. And you always were like, I'm just one gate away from a reflector, right? So when we saw it, it was like, it was almost a little like spooky, right? And you could argue, like, well, we already had a huge resonance with the regular tropical, we both had, but there were things that didn't feel right.
Hmm.
And I noticed it with some of my other colleagues when things came up, you and I as well. And some of the also defined and undefined centers that I was really trying to mold myself into. And I started to realize that when the true sidereal came about, and I was like, oh, so it was this huge teaching moment. Like, you can really, really trust yourself.
Mm.
Because all the things that I have felt were slightly off, they kind of fell away, and everything that felt really right in my body was even more amplified in some way, you know?
So fun.
Yeah, so it's just, and again, that's our experience. Like, everybody's experience is different. Like, we have to be very careful now not to be like, everybody now has to do true sidereal astrology and human design. Like, it's for those that resonate with that, you know? Whatever helps a human being to be their most authentic self, please do that. Find out for yourself. And yeah, in my world, a lot of people, they come to me obviously because of human design and especially the true sidereal now. And it's life changing. It's so beautiful. And I'm going to continue on this path because that's where everything or God is seeming wants me to go. It's really putting the breadcrumbs of the universe, right? Like, and I'm just following that. And it also gets me out of my comfort zone many times, but it's just something that feels so true to me, you know? And then there are other people that have something completely different and it's helping people in a very similar way, you know? I want people to be happy, to do what they're meant to be doing, be in their zone of genius. So they're happy while they do the things that they love to do and they're providing value to people. We make a better world together. And whatever can help you on that journey, please use whatever that is. But never put anything on a pedestal because then we get into this like it's a cult, we create false gods, or we put things on a pedestal. Like, no, we are all amazing. Everybody is in their highest value, or we are as worthy as everyone else, right? Nobody's better or worse than anybody else. And also, one thing I want to say, oftentimes we say that, you know, people are bad or a narcissist and things like that, right? But we also need all of that because maybe you just have to learn, and I have to learn to be more compassionate in this lifetime. And without some very triggering people in our lives, like it doesn't mean that you're better than another person. I'm still working on that to myself, you know, because it's a very humbling experience, definitely.
Amen.
Well, we
Very
could probably
humbling.
talk for like 10 more episodes about this, but thank you for um asking me all of this because yeah, I literally like you and I and so many people I talk about this all the time, but I'm like, I just don't want to sugarcoat it anymore because I know there's so many people that are afraid to say these kind of things, but they know it deep inside. So if that's you, speak your truth, you know?
Definitely. I love this. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your power and your experience and your stories. I think I feel it's very empowering. So I'm grateful that you are so open and so courageous about going out with this because I know a lot of people might also um, throw some shade and it doesn't matter because, you know, like you're not attached. And so neither am I.
Yeah. No, and I think there's so many amazing human design teachers actually out there that are also teaching human design in such an expansive way, you know? And I just feel like anytime when we fall into the extreme with human design, I have seen people also disappear in the human design space. And I think because they realize, and I think that's actually really good when they realize that it's not the way that they're using is not serving them. And it's such a gift though, and my mission is to get it out into the world in a very empowering way. And that's also my human design certification. I've attracted the most magical group of people because I advertise it in this energy and all the true sidereal, and like it's an archetype rather than a type. And the 64 energies is a big focus on it. And it was a leap of faith, but I'm just very thankful that I had the courage to trust myself. So thank you, Alex, for being here with me and having this wonderful conversation. If you guys want more, let us know.
Yeah,
Always happy to.
I love talking about this stuff. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
yeah, of course, anytime. And you listeners, thank you so much for being here. I would love to know your thoughts. Please let me know, send me an email, contact me on Instagram, or both of us, and post in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube. And we'll be back with another episode very soon. Ciao, everyone.
Bye.